Hey guys, in this tutorial we will build a simple microservices example with Laravel. The frontend of this app will be built on Angular, React and Vue, so you can pick your favorite there. As for the backend, we have two Laravel apps, admin and main, where they have their own database with different data. They communicate with each other through RabbitMQ events, and in one case the main app will internally call the admin app to retrieve some data. Both Laravel apps will run through Docker, so we will learn some Docker commands along the way too. Before I show you how the app looks like, I would like to share this Udemy course that I created, where it's even more advanced than this course that we are building. So this is a 15 hours course, and you will learn a lot of things like how to break a monolith into microservices, upload packages to Composer so you can use your own packages, also upload packages to npm, you will pay with Stripe, etc, etc. So I will put a link in the description and you can check it if you like this course on YouTube. So this is the app that we will build. It's a simple app where this is the admin and this is the main app. In the main app we can like the products, and in the admin app we can create the products. It is very simple, but don't get deceived because it has two backend apps with different database communicating with RabbitMQ, which I open it on my right side. So let's see an example. For example, I will like this product here, and when I like the product you will see an event happening in RabbitMQ right now. So the event has been triggered here, and we have one ready event, and now is 0, so it means it was consumed. So if we see here, let's refresh the admin, we can see that we got another like here. So in essence it's really simple, but this like has more functionality to it, since it will internally call also the admin to get a random user, and if we happen to like with the same user, it will throw an error. We can also create a new product. So let's create a product, and I will add a sample image. We will see that RabbitMQ will trigger another event. So this is a product that we created. Another event has been fired, and when it's consumed here, we will see the product here. So it seems that the product is on the admin app, on the main app. So we got the product. So we will see how this app will work by building them. So let's start creating the apps. Now let's start a new Laravel project and also connect it with Docker. To install Docker, go to Docker Desktop, to docker.com/product/Docker Desktop, and download the right version for you. Once it's completed, you will have an icon here for the Docker Desktop. Now, to install Laravel, the current version of Laravel is 8, and you can use either this command, or I will use this command since I already have the installer. So I'll create the first project, Laravel new admin. Let's wait till it's completed. Now it's completed, and let's open the folder with our IDE. So I already opened it. So before making any changes, I will install this package, Laravel IDE helper, because it's really helpful while we are developing, since it will add more helpers to our IntelliSense. So let's install this package. Now that is completed, run php artisan IDE generate. So it will generate a file here, so this file will help our IntelliSense. Now, before making any changes, we will add the Docker file. So I will add Docker file here, and in this Docker file we need to specify the from in the beginning, so where this app is coming, so from Ubuntu usually, but I will keep it simple, and this is a PHP app, and the version of PHP is 7.4. So this is the container that we will start with PHP 7.4 built on it. Now, along with PHP, we need more packages to be installed, so I'll paste it directly here. So this looks a bit scary, but I will paste these commands in the description, so you can use it the same. This last command is to install Composer, so we can immediately run Composer in this app. Now that we installed PHP with all the packages that are needed, we can focus on our app, so we have to specify the working directory. I'll just use app, and let's copy dot here. So the first dot is this app, so this whole app, and this other dot is the working directory. So I will copy all the files here to the folder app in the Docker container. And once I copied all the files, I need to run Composer install. So run Composer install. So once this Composer install has run, our app is ready to be executed, so we have to run another command here, which is php artisan serve, and I will specify the host, which is 0.0.0.0, so it's localhost basically. When we do php artisan serve, it usually exposes port 8000, so I will write expose port 8000. So this container now that we built will run through port 8000. Now we completed the Docker file, we need to add another Docker Compose file, docker compose.yaml. So to run the Docker Compose file, we have to add first the version. So the version for the Docker Compose is 3.8, latest one, and we have to add the services. So the first service is our admin app, so admin. And here we want to connect this Docker Compose file with the Docker file that we just created. So we have to specify a build. The context is this folder, and the Docker file is this Docker file that we just created. So with this command, we told Docker Compose that use this Docker file basically. Now we have is basically completed, but we need one more thing, which is ports. So this ports is which port we want to show it to localhost. So we already exposed port 8000, but this is a Docker container port, but not our local host. So the port here will be 8000, and this 8000 is a port inside the Docker container, and this is the port that we want to show to our local host. So with this, our app is running, but we still need the database, so we have to add MySQL here. So I'll add admin db, which I will download the image from MySQL, and I have to specify here the version, which is 5.7.22. So now we got MySQL, but still we have to specify the passwords in the database, so we have to add the environment here. We need the MySQL database, which is admin, MySQL user, which is whatever, I will put it root, MySQL root password, this is root again, and MySQL password, which is also root. So basically the difference between MySQL root password and MySQL password is that this one is for the user, so I can move it up. So this is for the user root as a password root, and for this other password is for the admin that owns the MySQL. So you don't have to worry about it, so you have to just use these credentials. So we are not done yet here, so we had to add the volumes. The volumes is basically we have to map our files here locally to MySQL files. So we can move files back and forth from the Docker container to our app, or to our app to the Docker container. So I will map the folder storage db data to var lib MySQL. So inside the storage folder now you will see db data, and we need this because MySQL stores some information, will store to this folder, and it doesn't work if we don't do this volume. And the last change is the ports also here, and the default port for MySQL is 3306, which is this is the port inside the Docker container, and we have to map it to outside, so I'll put 33060. I put a different port here because it will conflict with my MySQL installation, and this way it doesn't conflict it. So the last change is that this admin app will use this admin DB, and to tell this service to use this other service, we have to add depends on admin DB. So this service is dependent on this other service. Now let's add these changes to our env file. Now the DB host is admin DB. The database is admin, and the password is root. So these are the changes that we want. The DB port is correct, so you don't have to worry about this. With that being said, now let's run docker compose app, and this will build our Docker files. So we have an error. So I already used this port. I don't know which app is using this port, but I will use another number. I will put 3 here. So this is my new port. Let's build again. So we can see that is starting and the database is failing. I don't know the reason, but usually the first time it fails. So let's type command Control C again, and docker compose app again, and this time MySQL will work correctly. Notice in our storage folder, now we have db data, which are the files from MySQL, which is importing here. So we can see we didn't have this folder before. Now we can connect to our MySQL. So we have to put a data source here. I'll put Docker here, host localhost. The port was this port. The user was root, the password was root, and the database was admin. Let's test the connection, and the connection is successful. So, as we can see, we successfully connected with Docker. Let's check it also in our browser. So let's type here localhost port 8000. And we can see that Laravel is installed. It means Docker is running correctly. Now let's create our database. Let's go to the database folder, and we have 3 folders now: factories, migrations, and seeders. So we will explore them now. First, the migrations. These are the commands that we create tables. There are 3 default tables when we create a Laravel project. So this is the users table. For the moment, I will remove all the fields here, and the user table will have only one ID. I will explain later why I did this. We just need the ID for now. Password resets table, we don't need this table, we can remove it. And the failed jobs table, we need this table because we will use RabbitMQ, and this table will catch the failed events. Now, to create another migration, we open the terminal and run php artisan make migration. I will create another table, create products table. And now another migration will appear here, and Laravel will check the name here, and it will automatically create a schema called products. So for the products, we will add a string title here for the product. We will add another string for the image of the product. And the last thing that we will add is an unsigned integer, likes. So the amount of likes that these products got. I will add also a default value. So if we create a product in the beginning, the amount of likes is 0. Now we have all the tables in this project. We are ready to migrate. So the command to migrate is php artisan migrate. But this failed. What is the reason? Because here I'm in my localhost, and to run this migration I have to be inside the Docker container. So the first thing that we have to do is go inside the Docker container. So docker compose exec. So let's go to the Docker compose file. We have to specify the name of the container that we have to go. So it's admin sh. Now I am inside the Docker container. So if I run now php artisan migrate, we can see that the migrations are successful. If we open also the database and refresh here, we will see the tables. So now that we run the tables, we can seed them. So seeders are used to fill the table data along with the factories. So let's create another factory for the products. But first, for the user factory, we removed all these fields, so we don't need any of these fields. The user factory will return an empty array. Now we need to create another factory for the products. So let's create the factory, PHP artisan make factory product factory. So we created a factory, and it should appear here, but it won't. Why is that? Because we didn't add something in the services here, which are the volumes. Like the volume here, like MySQL stored data in the container and also in our app. We have to do the same here, because we created right now the factory inside the Docker container, but it's not appearing here. So let's add a volume, and the volume will map this app with /app. This /app is this working directory here. So what I'm mapping is all these files with a /app directory. Now we have to restart our Docker container, and the factory should appear there. We can see now that we got the product factory here, and we need the product model. So we have to create also that. So let's run PHP artisan make model product. We will see the model here, so it's already there. Now we can change this to product, and this is the product factory. Let's remove this. The product will have a title, which in our case is this faker text. I'll put 30 characters. It will have an image, this faker image URL. We don't need to add the likes because the default value of it is 0. So we are finished with our factory. Now we need to use seeders. So let's run PHP artisan make seeder product seeder. We also need to create the user seeder. So PHP artisan make seeder user seeder. So they appeared here. Let's go to the user seeder. To run the seeder, we have to use the factory that we created. So user factory. I'll create 20 users, and in the end create. So this is how we create 20 users. Let's do the same for the product seeders. Product factory 10 create. And in the database seeder, we can call all our separate seeders in one place. So we will call this call. We'll put an array here, and we will add our two seeders, which is user seeder that class and product seeder that class. Now that everything is on place, run PHP artisan migrate. DB seed. So we had a problem. So a known column updated at in the user's seeder. So let's go to the user model. So we have a bunch of fields here that we have to remove, and this should not be also notifiable. And in order to remove the updated data and created data from the user, we have to use this property, public timestamps equals to false. This reminds that these fields should not be used in this model. Let's run again the seeder, php artisan db seed, and we successfully seeded the database. Now if we open the database, let's go to the users, we can see the IDs from 1 to 20. It's really simple, but you will know why I will use it later. And the products, we have some products with a title, an image, and likes, which is equal to 0. So this is how you create the migration factories and seeders. Now let's add the controller for the products. So to create a controller, run php artisan make controller product controller, and the controller is located here. Now we want to create a CRUD for the product, so the first function that we will add here is index. And in this function we have to return all the products. So it's pretty simple. Now we need to map this function to a route. To do it, we have to go to routes API. Let's remove this route since we don't need it, and right here route get the API that we want to call is products. And now we have to map the controller, so we have to put an array here, and the first parameter is the controller itself, so product controller that class, and the second parameter is the function that we created, which is index. So I'm already getting some IntelliSense here, so we can remove this part and we can import it directly here. So we can use the namespace. This is how we create a route for this function. Now let's test it if it is successful. Create an HTTP request. I will call it HTTP. So you can use a Postman if you like. I used this PHP Storms command because I can use everything in one IDE, but you may use Postman. We want to have a GET request to HTTP localhost port 8000 /API/products, and we don't send any parameters, so probably we need accept application.json, just this header, and let's run it. So we can see these are all the products that we got. So the endpoint works correctly. The second endpoint that we want is to show a single product, which is show. And here we need to specify the ID. And we will return product find ID. Notice that this function is highlighting. It means it probably doesn't exist, but it does exist. That's why we installed in the beginning this IDE helper, which generated this PHP file. Let's run the command php artisan IDE models. Yes, this will generate some comments in the product. So right now this find is highlighting correctly. So if we go to the products now, we can see some comments here, which are the functions that are not mapped correctly in our IDE. So I recommend that package. Now let's go to our api.php, and here we will add product/id, and this will call the show method. So this ID will map this ID here. So if we go to our HTTP, and now we want the first product, we are getting the first product. So let's do the same for all the other endpoints, but there is an easier way to map all 5 endpoints. So basically all 5 endpoints are this post, which is products here, and this is store, put, which is product/id here, and this is update, and the last one is delete, and this is destroy. So for every CRUD function there are 5 methods: one to get all the products, one to get a single product, one to create a product, one to update the product, and one to delete the product. Laravel has already a function to simulate all these 5 methods, which is API resource. So we have to create only one API resource for the products, and this only needs a class, and this will map all the 5 functions. So let's run php artisan route list. We'll see that we got all these endpoints, but we have only one function here. Now let's create all the other functions. So let's create store here, and this accept the request parameter. And now we want to create a product. So we'll create a product, which is product create, and inside we will pass the parameters that we want. From the request I will get only the title and the image. So we will send these 2 parameters from the request, and we will create a product. In the end we will return the response with the product, and we also need to pass here the response. Usually is 201, which is HTTP created, but we can use response from Symfony component HTTP foundation. We can add directly HTTP created here. So we have the status code when the product is created. Now let's test it. Go to HTTP, change this to post, and this is products. We have to add also another header, which is a content type application JSON, and we have to add the request parameters. The first is the title here, and we want also the image. Now we can send this post request, and we can see that we have an error. So add title to fillable property to allow mass assignment. So to fix this problem, we have to go to the product model, and we have to add here, protected, guarded, and I will put an empty array. So this means that all the fields are fillable. Usually here you put an ID, so I'll put an ID here, but we will remove it later because I will show you. Now let's try it again. We can see we created another product, and with a title and an image, and the ID is 11. Now let's update this product. So let's go to the product controller, and we will add the update method. Update. Here we need the ID and the response. Sorry, the request. So first we have to get the product, which is product find the ID, and then we have to update this product. So we have to call update, and we have to use the same as this request here. So we have to update the title and the image, and in the end we will return a response just like this one, except now we need HTTP accepted. So this is the update method, and now let's copy this ID 11, and let's change the title to new title and the image to new image. Let's send the request. We got an error, so we have to change this to put. So let's run it again. So this product now has a new title and a new image. Now let's remove this product, the last method here, destroy. We need the ID here, destroy. So to destroy a product, we have to write product, destroy, and ID here. And for the response, we have to send a null value here, because it's we don't have to send anything. So response HTTP no content. So once we destroy a product, we don't return anything, and we return response null with no content. Let's go to our HTTP, and now we want to delete this product. We don't want to send any parameters here. Let's send a request, and it successfully deleted the product, because now we didn't return anything. We just returned 204 no content. Now if we do a get request to get this product, we won't see the product again. So response is successful, but it doesn't have a product. So this is how you create a CRUD, API CRUD with Laravel. Now let's create our main app. Write Laravel new main. Let's wait till the installation is completed. Now that the installation is completed, let's go to the folder and install the package for our IDE helper. Now that is installed, run php artisan IDE generate. So now let's open it with our IDE. I opened here the project with my IDE, and this is the main app, and this is the admin app that we just created. Now here, let's copy the Docker files and paste them here. So the Docker file, we don't have to change anything here. In the Docker compose file, we have to change the names. So this is main, this is main DB, and let's change this main DB here, and the database should be main also. and we have to change the ports. Now it needs a different port, and for the MySQL it needs a different port. We don't need to change the Docker container port, we only need to change our localhost port. Now the Docker compose file is correct. Let's go to our env file. This is main db here, and this should be root. Now everything should be correct. Run docker compose up. So the database will fail the first time. So now it failed, and we have to run it again. And now it won't fail. Now let's go to the migrations, and let's change the migrations. We don't need a user table here, neither the password resets table. We need the created jobs table. Now let's go inside the Docker container, php artisan, it should be docker compose exec. Now the name changed, so in the Docker compose we have to use main sh. So the Docker container didn't run. Let me see the reason. So let's run it with build. So I don't know the reason why it didn't run in my machine. Maybe I already ran one main app before. Now it's running, and let's open it again. Now I'm inside the Docker container. So here I will create a migration. Design make migration, create products table. It is product, should be product, so I will delete this file. Actually I will copy the file from admin, so I will copy this file here and paste it here. So this is the products table that we want to create, but now we have to change something. We don't need the likes here, we just need the title and the image. And for the ID here, we have to change ID to not be auto increment. So we have to make it unsigned big integer ID, and we want it to be primary. Why did I make this change? Is because the products will be created in the admin, and we will get a RabbitMQ event here, so we can create a product with the same ID. Because if we make it auto increment, we will have inconsistencies. Now that we created the migration, let's run the migration. php artisan migrate. So we run the migration, we check the database. So I will add docker here, and the port was this port. User was root, password root, and the database was main. Test connection. So we have the products here. Now let's create also the controller. php artisan make controller, product controller, and also the model. php artisan make model product. And let's go now to the product controller, and here we'll create the index function that we will return the product all. And let's go to our API, and here we will add the route API resource, not API resource, get product product controller here, and we need to map the index function. So we created everything. Now what is missing is getting the event from RabbitMQ from the other app, which we'll do it in the next tutorial. Now we want to send events through RabbitMQ. I suggest to use this service here, CRUD AMPQ, which also has a free tier, which I will be using, so it's good for testing. So I already have an account. I will log in. This is my instance, and if we go to RabbitMQ Manager, we'll see the RabbitMQ dashboard here. So to use this, we need to install another package, Laravel Q RabbitMQ. Let's install this package to our projects. So this is the main app. I will install it here, and I will also install it in our admin app. We need also to add this RabbitMQ connection to our Q.php. So I'm already in Q.php here, and here I will add this code, and I will paste it also here. Now the package is installed, and also I added this configuration. Now let's go to our env file, but first let's copy this part here, and let's go to our env file, and we'll paste it here. We need only the constants here, so RabbitMQ host. We need a RabbitMQ port, which is correct. I will put it that number. The guest, the password, and the vhost. So let's copy this part, paste it to the env file here also, and let's get the values from our RabbitMQ management. So if we go here, we can see this is a host. I will copy the host here. This is user and vhost, and I need to paste a password. So this is my password. Don't use my password, you can use your free tier. I will copy it and paste it here also. And the last change is we want to change this Q connection here to RabbitMQ. And let's do it the same for the main app. With these changes, we are ready to test if our app works. So first, let's restart our Docker containers and restart the other one too. And in the admin app, we will send an event that our main app will get the response. So let's create a command. Make command fire event. I got the reason there is this X here which I added mistakenly. So let's create it again. Make command fire event. So the command is already created. So I'll name it just fire here. And I will remove all this code. And here we want to fire the event. So to fire an event, we first have to create a job. PHP artisan make job test job. So let's create the same job in the other app. So we will create here PHP artisan make job test job. And here we will dispatch the event test job dispatch. The test job is located in here. So for the moment I won't do anything. I want just to fire the test job, and I will want to catch it here in the main app. So the way to catch it is go to event service provider, and I will remove all this code here. We don't need it. And here add app bind method test job class. I will concatenate it with add handle here, and this will call a function with a job as a parameter that will call job handle. Let's update to PHP 7.4. So if this doesn't work for you, if you have a lesser version of PHP, you can use function, and you can add job here and return job handle. But I will keep it like this because I like it better. And in the test job, I will remove all this stuff. I will just echo event has been handled. PHP end of line. So to wait for this event to happen, we have to write PHP artisan. We have to go inside the Docker container first. Docker compose exec main sh. Here run PHP artisan queue work. And now our queue is listening to events. Now let's go to our admin, and here we will dispatch the event with the command PHP artisan fire. So this means that the event was fired, and we can see here that we are processing the job test job, and we got the message event was handled. Now we are listening to events from one Laravel app to another one using RabbitMQ. And if we see the chart, we can see now an event happened right here, and it was processed. Now that we fired an event, let's create all the events for creating the product. So the first one is PHP artisan make job product created. So the job will be created here, and let's go to our product controller. So when we create a product here, we need to dispatch an event that the product was created, and we have to dispatch it. We have to set also a product as a parameter, but it needs to be an array. It's always a good idea to send an array because sending object might not always exist there, and arrays always exist. Now we dispatch the product. We also need to add the product here, so I'll call it data, and I have to initialize it. So this is our products created now job. So let's copy this code, and now in the other app create the same job. make job product created. Let's go to the product created, and here we'll paste the same. Now the same data that is passed on this job will be passed on this job as well. Now, before we change the handle function, let's go to event service provider, and here we will add the product created job. We can remove the test job since we don't need it. Let's remove also these imports. Now let's take care of the handle function. Now here we have the product data that is created, and now we just have to create the product ourselves. So product create. So if this create is not highlighted, we have to use PHP artisan IDE models. I explained that in my previous tutorials, so you can check them out if you haven't seen them. Now create is highlighted. Now for the product, we have to set every field here, including the ID. So the ID is this ID. We have the title, we have the image, and created that and updated that. So that's why we made the ID in the migration to not be auto increment here. So let's see if this works. So PHP artisan Q work. Now let's open our HTTP, and we want to create a product now. Title T image I. Let's send a request. So we successfully created a product. Oh, this is get, sorry, my bad. Post. So we created successfully the product. Now let's see if it is handled and it failed. So luckily we have the created jobs table and the failed jobs table, sorry, and here we will see the reason why it failed. So we have all the data here about the event, and the error is, how do we see it? Mass assignment exception. So the error is because of the product we didn't have guarded, and I will put it an empty array here. Now it should work. Let's try again and send a post request. So we sent the request again, and it failed again because we didn't restart the queue, I guess. But let's see the error just in case. So the same error, so we have to restart the queue, PHP artisan queue work, and let's change it. Now it's processed successfully, and if we see the products now, we have a product with ID 13, a title T, and image 2i. So the same data that we sent. So this is how we send events through RabbitMQ. Now let's do the same for the other update and delete. So first we have to create the jobs. PHP artisan make job product updated, and PHP artisan make job product deleted. Here in the update function we'll send product updated, dispatch the product to array, and in the destroy we will send product deleted, dispatch. We only need the ID here. Let's go to product updated. I will copy the same code here from product created because it's basically the same. And in the product deleted, it should be an ID. So I will change these values to ID, and this is ID here. I will copy them and go to the jobs here and paste them here. And let's go to event service provider, and I will duplicate this, add here product updated, and here product deleted. Now let's take care of product updated. First we have to get the product, which is product find this data ID, and then we have to update it. This product update, and we have to set the values, which is title, this data title. So I will do it the same as product created here. So I'll copy the array here, paste it here. Here we don't need the ID because it doesn't change since we find it directly here. And for the product deleted, we have to use it. This is really simple, which is product destroy this ID. Now let's go to our HTTP. Now we will put to product what was the ID there, if I remember correctly. I will put 12 here, and I will change the title to new title. So this is changed, but it failed. Let's check the reason. Update on null. So the product ID is 13, so it should be 13 because the product with ID 12 doesn't exist. So let's change it again. And it was processed successfully. Now the title is new title. Now we have to remove it. We don't need to send data. So it's removed here. It should be removed also here. Now we don't have a product. So this is how we send events through different apps, and also we are consistent with the data. Now we want to add the like functionality for the product. So first we have to create a controller, PHP artisan make controller, user controller. Now let's go to the user controller, and here I will add a simple function. I will call it random, And here I will get a random user. User, not this one. So it should be user from models in a random order first. So with this, I just get a random user. And in the end, I will return just the ID. User ID. So if we test this function, first let's add it to our API.php and route get user controller here, and the function is random. Let's try it in our HTTP. So this should be get, and this should be just user. We can see that is a random ID here. One is 10, 18, etc. Now we want to call this endpoint from our other app. So to do it, in our product controller here, we will add another function like, and the like will have a request. Let's add it also in our API.php. So this is a post request to products/id/like. So we need to add also the ID, which I forgot. This is like here. Now let's go again to the product controller and add the ID, which we forgot. So now to like a product, so I will make a weird logic here, but this is just to show you how internal requests happen. So I will get a random user from this endpoint, which I will copy right now, and that user will like this product. So to get an internal request, we have to use HTTP get. We will paste the endpoint, and that's it basically. So this is the response. And for the moment, I will just return response JSON. This will return what we got here. So to test this, we have to send a post request to localhost port 8001, since it's this microservice, it's not this microservice. Products. I will put a random ID, let's put 13, and like. And in the body, I will put nothing. So let's send the request. And we can see this will stay forever like this, unless we restart the Docker containers. And now it failed to respond. Why did this thing happen? Because the problem is localhost here, and when we try to access localhost in a Docker container, be careful, sometimes it's localhost, sometimes is not. And this time should not be localhost, and we have to tell Docker that this is our localhost, not the Docker localhost. To tell it, we have to write here Docker for Mac localhost. It looks really weird, but this is the way in how Docker recognizes our localhost. Now let's do the same here. Send the request, and we got the ID. Now we are calling product like here, and we got a random ID. So we are going back and forth. We are calling this application, then this application is calling this other application, and we are getting the user ID. Now let's add a migration. So I will add here PHP artisan make migration, create product user table. So this table is to record all the data that we store in our where the product is liked. So create product user table. This will have an ID. Also we'll have a user ID, and it will have a product ID. So this is a product user table. We also need to make them unique. User ID and product ID. Because one user can like one product just once. Now that we created the user, let's migrate. Also, let's create a table, PHP artisan make model, product user. Let's go to product user. Let's add guarded here. I will put ID here since we don't change the ID here. And now in our product controller, we'll get the user here. And we have to store the product user create. We still need to run PHP artisan ID models here. And inside we'll put the user ID, which is user ID, because now it's an array, and the product ID, which is this ID that we pass here. Now I will put a try catch here. If an error happens, it means that the user already liked this product. So here I will return response message success, and here I will return response error, you already liked this product. Response from Symfony component HTTP Foundation, HTTP BAT request. Now let's try to like again this product. Let's like again. So we should not get this message. Let's see what is the real error. Product users not found. So it seems it adds an S in the end, so it doesn't recognize the table. So we have to use here protected table is equal to product user. So we specify the table manually right now. So it was successful. Let's uncomment the try catch here. And like again. So it will come a time that we'll hit the the same user, and we will get the error that the product is, yes, this is it. You already like this product. So this is how you make internal requests with Laravel. Now that we like the product, we need to send an event from the main app to the admin app. So let's do the same as we did before. Let's go inside the Docker container and create a job. PHP artisan make job product liked. And here we will call it here product liked. We'll dispatch it and we will send this product user to array. Now let's go to the product like table class, sorry, and now we need the data that we need to send. We need to initialize it. So this is a product liked in the main app. Let's copy it and we will paste it to the admin app. So the difference here is that we need to call the handle function, but first let's go to the event service provider. Let's remove this code and here call app bind method product liked class at handle here a function that has a job that handles the job. Let's switch to PHP 7.4. The change here does change only the composer.json file. That's why it does highlight. Now let's take care of product liked. This is really simple. We have to find the product, which is product find this data product ID, and we have to increase the like count. So product likes plus plus and the product save. So that's it. We increase the product likes when a product is liked here. So we have to also run here PHP artisan q work. Listen works the same, but doesn't matter. Now let's go to our HTTP and run this post to like the product again. So I already like the product, so let's try again. Success. And let's see the terminal. It failed. Let's see the reason. It seems that we don't have the product. So product 13 doesn't belong here. So what I will do is create a new product now. So port 8000. API products. I will create it with a title and an image. So title T and image I. Let's create it. And the ID is 14. Let's see. Actually, I didn't start to listen here. So we can see that it didn't process in the main app, but the product created was processed in the admin app, which doesn't make sense. So to fix this problem, we have to create multiple queues. So let's go to our env file. So first go to queue.php, and for the queue we have RabbitMQ queue here, which is default queue. Both of the apps are listening to the same queue. Now we will change it, so we will add this is the admin queue here, and let's copy it, and let's go to the env file here, and here we will add the main queue. So now let's restart also php artisan queue work also here. So now they are listening to different queues, but the difference now is in a product controller. We have to specify the queue that we want to dispatch a product. So in this case, I will dispatch the product created on the main queue. Only the main queue will listen to this one, also to this one, and also to this one. So I made a mistake here, it should be here. And on the main queue, when I fire the product liked, so it should be on the admin queue. Now there is no room for mistakes. Let's restart it again just to be sure. And this one, let's restart it. PHP artisan queue work. Let's create again a product. So product with ID 15 is created and it's processed here. So we got the product there and it's not processed here. Now let's change the port to 8001 and the product with ID 15 like. We can send the request again. So the message was successful and here is not handled. Let's see. Here it's handled. So we got two different queues now running parallelly. And if we see the product, we can see the likes are incremented by 1. So we almost finished the app, but there is one last change that we will make. Is this queue work. We always have to start the Docker container and then to go inside the Docker container to run another command. This happens for both of the apps, which doesn't make sense to do it all the time, and also doesn't make sense to do it on the production environment also. So we have to create another service now just for the queue to listen. So we will use basically the same Docker file here. So to create the command, we have to add a queue here, which is called the main queue. It will call the same Docker file. We don't need the volume because we don't make any changes, neither the port. We need the DB since when the job fails, it will store it in the database. Now we need to run the command php artisan queue work. But the problem is that we have already php artisan serve inside the Docker container. So right now what we will do is cut this code here and remove this code. And now this will be our Docker file. Now let's go to the Docker Compose file, and we have to simulate that command directly in the Docker Compose file. So here I will write a command php artisan serve. So this will work the same as having the php artisan serve in the Docker file. Now we will copy this line, paste it here, and instead of serve, now we will run q work. And what is left is to restart the Docker containers and build them. And now we will have 3 Docker containers instead of 2. I will do the same for the other app. So let's add here the main queue. It should be admin queue here. It will depend on the admin DB. And in the Docker file, we have to cut this part here. And we have to add it in our Docker Compose file as a command. Let's restart also this with a build. Now, as we can see, the containers are running. If we do a docker ps, we will see that we have main queue and main DB. Now all the other app is running, so we should have more containers running now. And if we create a product or do anything else, so I will call this HTTP by default. And one app should handle the... So let's open the terminal. So this app processed the product liked. And if I create a product, it should be the other app. So this app doesn't do anything here, but this app processed the product created, and we can actually see it in the database. So this is the tutorial about Laravel Microservices. I hope you like it, and if you have anything, post it in the comments. Thank you.